Hey guys, another week, another project. Taking it into Logic this time. If you're used to Ableton or another DAW, don't worry. I will walk you through very briefly how this DAW works. I mean, they all are really the same. And for me, as an engineer, I really want to be able to work with all the different DAWs. So here we go. As usual, we start with the original version, like just the tracks as I downloaded it from the Cambridge website. The track is Reflection by Oxeye, and yeah, I'll let you listen to the original version as it's recorded for a bit because the recording was really great, but the gains are all over the place. And then my printed version. This is mix number 7. Took me quite some time to get this right. And then I'll just walk you through every stage.
Change my face, come water, don't need my gaze, come make love.
Okay, so let's go through the DAW real quick. This is top to bottom. Here we start. Red is all the drums, and I put it in a summing group or a folder. So actually, these toms, they should also be, no, they shouldn't be in there. They're outside the group for a reason. I'll explain that in a bit. But that's the drums. Then I have the bass, just one line, one track. Then the synths, quite some synths. Piano, lead, vocals. They're kind of chopped up in different sections, and then they have some doubles. So quite a lot. And then the background vocals, which are quite a lot, and they're going all over the place. We have vocal effects, which I put in a different group just for processing later. And then we have the effects here, all sorts of random little effects. Yeah, and then here's my print, my final print, and then the original version. So for this project, I think I really spent 3 hours, of course, getting used to the new DAW, but also just trying to get all the volumes right. Like balance is, I think, 90% of the game. That's what I've learned so far. So I will go to the mixer view, which is, I think, for the volumes a much nicer, for the gains a much nicer way to view everything. And I'll just walk you through it real quick what I've been doing. So on the drums, let me just open this up. I mean, you can read here what is what. I think if you want to replicate this, it's interesting to see. I just lowered these bells first because they were annoying as hell to me, and then the clicks and the claps, they were very, very strong, and they were just little elements for the rhythm, but they didn't need to be very persistent. There's 2 kicks, which here we go. This is very deep subby kick, and then this is more to pronounce it, so I kept this much louder than the deep sub. Let me see if I turned off these tracks down here. Yeah, they're muted, so we just hear the project now. Yeah, so these drums, they are, you know, the toms are still quite loud because I really like them. They're not present a lot in the project, not a lot, and mostly during the chorus. So yeah, I think that's pretty clear, like the levels on there. The bass I just lowered a little bit and then processed a little bit on the group, show you in a little bit. But let's just go over these gains first. So the synths, I really had to pick, like, these are all the synths. Let me see if they're all playing. Let me just collapse this. So in the synths group, no, they have their different sections, right? So you have the lead synth here, which I think is quite important, and then these kind of supporting synths. Then this one. Which is really more of a rhythmic synth, and it doesn't need to be so pronounced, it just needs to be there in the background. So what I spent quite some time on is just leveling these out within the group. I mean, you have to switch back to the entire track, you can't just do this in solo all the time. But just getting this balance right meant that I could just play with the group fader. Furthermore, which I think I kept at 0, no, -2. So I lowered that even a little bit, and then let's just listen to all of these. So these 4 are all very different, like 2 very rhythmic ones, and the rhythm element I think is really important to this track to kind of make it bounce. And then these are just really kind of to fill up more space, which or to just give more tone to the whole track, which you have to give them the right, place in the balance. So you see that the rhythmic ones, they're really low in the volume. I lowered these by like -15, -20 dBs. So they're still there, but they're not too present and they're not taking up too much space. They just play their part. This part, these 2 come back, and then it's just basically an interchange of these 2 sections. So those are the synths, and that's the levels, quite low. On the piano, I think same story. Like, let's listen to all of these. So slow, kind of, just for the chords, and then very fast, more rhythm kind of style. Let me zoom here, still getting used to Logic. So just a little pronunciation there, and then these are during the chorus to give more life to it, and in context of the entire track.
A mirror, but change my face.
You can hear what they're doing, but they're not supposed to be, in my opinion, really upfront. They're just there to give the chord structure to the whole song, and just to accentuate the chord structure, because the synths are also doing that. So again, I mean, these are still quite loud, but I think they were recorded a bit softer, or on a lower gain. So I spent quite some time on these to get them right, also in the context of the entire song. Then the vocals, that took me so much time, because I think there was gain staging on all of them, or there was such a big gain difference in all of them. So you have these 3 sections kind of which make up the intro. Let me just do the zooming thing here. So the intro, and here another, this is like a verse 2 section, and then in the pre-chorus they come back in. Then we have, and then this comes in actually, so here's some additional gain. This is, it's all volume, you all have to treat this somehow. So then there's these, which kind of make up the chorus, and then this is the outro, which I was seriously struggling with because they're super loud. So you kind of have to make sure that they all sound at the same gain level, but they're all separate tracks, and then there's also the struggle of choosing which one is the lead. Well, in this case it was quite clear, because this guy is singing all the time, and these just come in during the pre-chorus, or what I call the pre-chorus, to kind of build up the energy. So this was at -4.5, and then these, let me just switch back to the mixer here. So here we go, lead vocal group, right? So this is the first 3, first 4 actually, then the second, let's go back so you can see this. Yeah, so I'm looking at backing vocals. Okay, so first 4, then 2, then 3. So that's the grouping. So first 4, then 2, then 3. So now you can see what I did with the volumes. First 4, very much the leading one, and then these are all kind of supporting. They come in to kind of support this guy. This one leading again, and then this comes in and supports, and this one also. I'll let you hear it and you know, experience why I did those faders positions. Those are actually 2 tracks, sorry. So this one doesn't support it. This is the lead, this is supporting. Here's the lead, this is the 2 supporting ones. So very clear, one is in charge, you know, and the other come to kind of fill up more space. Let's go over that here in detail. So let me just solo this whole thing.
I'm just a tense boy sitting pretty with a pencil and
There we go. I mean, super clear.
I get so caught up.
And then this comes in.
And I get so caught up.
And also this one.
And I get so caught up.
So they're just doubles. I mean, they just help you to widen the stereo image kind of, and to, if you want, I mean, I panned this one all the way out there. I panned that one all the way out there, these 2, just to widen the whole thing. I could have panned this one also, but I didn't. I don't know why. Didn't feel like it. So here we go.
And I get so caught up in telling others what.
And then here, I cut this section, and what you can do here is just lower it. So I lowered this by -7 dB because actually there is kind of a drop. I'll just unsolo this so you can hear it in the entire song. There's kind of like a drop, and then he kicks in, but he kicks in way too loud. So the rest after it is like a doozy. So I had to lower it. So here we go.
And now I'm laying in my bed at 2 a.m.
If I wouldn't have done that, so I would have kept it at 0. It's like this.
And now I'm laying in my bed at 2.
You know, it's like he comes in super strong and then laying in my bed. Yeah, that's kind of boring. We're building up to something, especially because the effects kind of say like, hey, you know, something is happening here. We're entering, almost entering a house, like breaking the glass. We're in, but then he sings very softly as compared to this. But it's all, you know, in comparison to. So needed to have this lower because all the perception of difference in loudness really here. Yeah, so these 3 I was really struggling with. Let me solo this whole group again. So this is the, clearly I chose this as the leading.
These are the moments when I tell you. These are the moments when.
So very loud, very nasal.
These are the moments.
Also very loud, very nasal. So together.
These are the moments when I tell you to be.
So interesting. I didn't pan these all the way out. I don't know. There's width, there's stereo width coming from other tracks. I could have panned these a little bit to create more stereo width, but I didn't. So that's the entire lead thing, and then, you know, we're just looking at balance now. I'll go through the groups in a little bit and show you the processing. And balancing on the background vocals. So we have this single one here. We have these 2, they're clearly together. So then we have these 4, they're clearly together for 2 sections. Those are both the chorus sections. Then these 2 come in during the second chorus section, and then these all come in during the outro, what I call the outro. So they add so much gain, and they're all over the place. Like, I'll just run you through some of them.
I get so caught up in telling others what they need to.
Huge range in vocal height, whatever you call it, in what chords they're using, kind of.
Up and telling others what. Up and telling others what.
Okay, octaves. I was looking for the word octaves. So they're all kind of playing around with octaves to build a wider range of background vocals, which is really cool. Very high. guess what? Just an octave lower, and then here at the final part, these two kick in. Okay, dude. Okay, turns robot. Then we have this one.
These are the moments when.
So these guys, they're just ad-libbing all sorts of stuff, you know, especially this one. Especially this guy.
Oh, we're all lovers.
Which is super cool, but finding the right gain where, you know, these don't overtake, and you're not like, oh, where did this guy come from? But they don't kind of drop out. That was really difficult, and in my first kind of renditions I just almost took all of these out because they were super frustrating. Also because I didn't like the vocals too much to begin with before treating, and then I found the right treatment so I could put them back in because they didn't annoy the hell out of me anymore. Okay, so the SFX, they're all really low, actually minus 15, and then on the tracks they're even minus 12, minus 17. I'll go to the mixer, purple section. So you see it's all quite low. Like the break glass, it's actually completely gone. I just took it out. That's interesting. Didn't like that one apparently.
I'm laying in my bed at 2 a.m.
Which you can actually still hear it. So it is at the absolute minimum. Let me solo this. And it's still super loud, so really interesting. Bunch of risers, bunch of stuff going on, you know. This was like a click from I think a tape machine or something. So low. Yeah, it's a little effect, but it took way too long, so I started cutting these all up because there was some stuff going on beside them, and I just wanted to make sure that we didn't hear any artifacts anywhere. So those are the balances, and for this track the balances were really 90% of the work. Once I had those, I could start emphasizing some of the stuff that I wanted. So let's just walk through group and track by track now and see what's on the plugins. I'll do it on the mixer because I like the interface here. The drums, an LA2A, and again I'll just let you hear the difference with out and with. So this is the drums track. Let me find a section where they're actually playing all together. Yeah, this looks good. So what did I do? I have this LA2A with these settings. So really not a lot of peak reduction, not a lot of gain, pushing in. So that's just completely fine. I treated these kicks quite a lot. Actually, let's do the whole kit without and with. So very subtle addition in the mids, but I like how, you know, I use them a lot on drums because I like how they just glue them together and make them a bit warmer. Then this kick, if you remember, is really the subby kick. But I wanted it to be more subby, so let me just take these. Let me show you these actually. So first there's this sub bass, which is a native plugin from Logic, which just adds more, a lot more sub. Then we have this kick boom setting on this British channel, which clearly pushes the low a lot. And there is some compression on here, but not a lot because you don't see it on the meters even, but it's turned on. And then we have this guy, the Black 76, which I forget what it's modeled on, but it's one of these you know, go-to guys for compression. And then I set this to the drum compressor, so I'll just turn these off, all of them, for the kick, and then start turning them on one by one, see how it transforms. So this adds this low ringer, like the 808 almost to it. Then this makes it much, fuller and darker. And then this one brings out the punch again. So I like this combination. Just a lot of playing around until I got to this. Then this one, I liked it as is. It's quite strong and it just adds a lot of punch to the whole thing. Then on the snare, let me just hear this snare without anything. So quite nice. Bit too dry, I think. So I added this bring out the snare setting on this white channel, which is a different version from the British channel you just saw. These things are all just modeled on this old hardware. So the low stays is the low mid, high mid, and the highs they're brought out a little bit, and there is some compression going on, but not a lot because you're not showing the meter. LA2A specifically on this with quite some gain reduction, or quite some additional gain and a little bit of peak reduction. So this, it's an opto compressor, so it reacts quite slow, meaning that the transient, the first snap of that kick or the snare will actually stay, but then it will emphasize the rest. It will bring up the tail a bit more. And then here's a blade. This, I don't do this a lot. I did it here, here, and here because I just wanted these to really ring throughout the room. And I probably automated this, and I'll show you that actually, let me show you now. Boom, automation. So yeah, I automated this to be just very loud. I mean, these snares just really play during the choruses, but I took it out here because I didn't want this one to ring, and then I stopped here because the snares actually continue through this outro, but I really wanted this dry. So back to the mixer, we're looking at the snare here. Let me just turn these on one by one. Quite a lot of plate, snare plate, so snare environment plate. So if you want to have a look at this, let me just go into the detailed stuff. Quite a big reverb time. Yeah, big size, semi-diffusion. Yeah, I just reused these. Didn't think to change them at all for the toms because I wanted the same with the toms. Let me find a section where these toms actually, yeah, they're playing more or less here. Clap, clicks, stick, left it as is, just panned them a little bit. I started out panning them way too much, but it was really annoying. Got some feedback on that from someone else, so panned them back, and I appreciate that feedback a lot. So here's the tom 1 and 2. Let me just get them together. Oh. Come on, it's the bell. No. Okay, there we go. Very strongly panned, clearly. I like to do that with toms because it feels like the drummer goes like this, even though I think tom 2 and 3 are actually on this second track here. It's just one mic, but without the plate, with the plates. Not very strong actually, these ones. But they add a little bit here. And then what I did was a little trick I learned from watching Ronald Prent. I just pitch shifted these down. So let me just play these, which can add a little bit of punch, or not punch, body to these toms. which I liked. You know, it's a neat little trick. Wanted to experiment a little bit, so I left that in the entire kit.
Come water.
Quite happy with that. I like how it hits on the bass. So let me just play the bass without anything. Okay, so like a synth bass, quite cool, but wasn't really doing it for me. So I put the bass 1 on it, which it's a combination of a whole lot of different things. So mostly really adding dynamics and so a compressor. There's some EQ stuff and there's some drive, some distortion stuff. Subcontroller to, you know, it's a preset that really allows you to add more sub, and then I played around with these settings a little bit until I got the sound that I was looking for. And then the sub bass, this is again, I haven't been using this a lot because this is a Logic native thing, but it enhances the sub for me, and I'll let you hear what it's been doing. So especially the bass one really transforms the sound. It just adds a lot of oomph to it, because it also didn't really come out in the track when I first played it, and now it is coming out much better.
Come water.
And I think it's quite crucial in this track. So then here we have all the synths. I showed you all the levels. I put some soothe on it, which I'm experimenting with this. It's really nice. It is really focused compression on specific resonances within the sound. So if a resonance just bites a little bit too hard, you often see engineers just pulling down these very small bands in their EQ, which means they're just fighting those resonances, and this one just looks for those resonances and then compresses those down, which works of course great on vocals, but here it works on the synths also very well with the harsh synth preset. What am I doing with this one? So let me just play you these one by one. So the soothe is just for all the synths. I just wanted them to be much more smooth because they were really quite in your face and quite, you know, squeaky synths. They were resonating a lot, to my opinion, and that made them stand out way too much when they were really supposed to play a background role. So we have this one. Let me play you a section. Okay, so I just took out the lows here. That's it. They were unnecessary and they were interfering with the bass. Then we have this one where I did the same and it sounds like this. No lows needed whatsoever, and still quite some resonances. That's clearly an effect that the producer was looking for. So I don't want to take that out completely, but I just want to smooth it out a little bit because it was, you know, breaking up the song, or it wasn't really gelling with the whole song. So let me just play you that with and without, and I mean, keep your ears open because it's a minor detail. Okay, so some resonance is taken not out, but just lowered there. This one I didn't do anything with. I think it's a very cool synth. It didn't need any work. Then this one. Oh no, actually that one I did process. So this one I didn't process. Let me show you which one that is. It's this one. Sounds pretty cool. Didn't see a need to process it. This one I did, and that's the one we just listened to. So what did I do with the Pro Q? So I took out some of the lows, but this is like super sub low, right? So very hard to hear. This is 30 starts here, so I'm rolling off a little bit, and then I am dynamically lowering this part. And let me just play this without and with. So I'll turn this off, play, and then turn it on. Okay, so there was something interfering with the bass. There was a lot of parts where the bass, the piano, the synths, and everything together just felt really kind of muddy or filling up the mids too much. So I had to take this out. All of these all of these are actually mono. You can also see I did the same with the piano, not the group but the individuals. They're all in mono because synth and pianos make a really cool stereo field, but it's not necessary. And I think these are also all recorded in mono, so no issue there. Panning, a lot of panning here, just to give to bring that wide stereo field back, but build up from all these individual ones, so they all have their space and they're all not interfering too much with the other stuff. This one didn't do anything with, what is it doing? It was really low volume and it's just filling up space. And this one, yeah, that was annoying the hell out of me, but it is important in the context of the mix, I think. Here. So it clearly is a rhythmic element, so you don't want to mess with it too much, but I just lowered the volume a lot and I took out all the lows because there were quite some resonances going on. I didn't want to fix those, I just took them away because there's already so much going on in the track in that region that I didn't need this there anymore. We have these one, which is just very small accents. Didn't treat it at all. And then we have this last one, which is just here. Very small accent. Let me show you in the context.
3, 5 times, and I get so caught up.
So I like those little things, the producer really put a lot of love into this song. Then onto the piano. Let's see, we have 4 of those, and they all play kind of a different role. Like they have their own section. This is the chorus piano. These are the verse, and really the verse pianos, you could call them that. Let me just play them and show you the treatment. Back to the mixer. So we have this one selected. It's just a Pro Q. Again, took out the lows and then really squashed down these low mids, which they were interfering with the bass and interfering. There's so much build up there again that I had to just take it out a little bit. The second one, nothing. I didn't do anything. So the third one also did nothing. These are just really small elements here. I panned these left and right. The first one, the second one, and the fourth. And the fourth one is this. So as you could see, quite some information in the lows that we weren't listening to, we weren't really using, and it was being filled up by the rest, so just took those out. That's the pianos. I think they play quite a crucial role in the song. Didn't treat them too much. I like these pianos. And less is more, because every introduction of a new plugin or effect, they just introduce more problems also that you have to fix elsewhere. Okay, let's go to the vocals. This took me a lot of time to get right, especially the balance. That is 95% of the trick here. And then I just didn't like them too much, and I'll turn off all of these. And then we'll listen to them for a little bit. And it made actually mixing this song quite frustrating in the beginning, because I don't know, I didn't like the vocals, but I couldn't really tell why, because he felt let me find a way to do this in a group. That's much better. So okay, lead vocals, let's just listen to these, and let's just listen to these here.
And I get so caught up in telling others what they need to do to escape. And then they're thankful, but I am a fraud that's just giving advice I can take. Come mirror, but change my face.
So
These are the moments when I tell you to be calm. You'll find solutions around.
he's singing his heart out. He's really, really trying, and I think he has a great voice. But in context of the entire song, like this section for example, let me unmute.
These are the moments when I tell you to be calm. You'll find solutions around the next corner. Feeling like this, yeah.
Especially with those background vocals, it just feels like stuff is just dissonant. It is just fighting with each other, and it doesn't feel great. And I figured out at some point that I just needed to auto-tune all of the tracks. Of course, individually you can't auto-tune on one big track. Come on, how do I multi-select here? There we go. So I just auto-tuned all of them.
These are the moments when I tell you to be calm. You'll find solutions.
Just a little bit, in a very natural way, I think. Okay, let me
These are the moments when I tell you to be calm.
And then he has quite some resonances in his voice, which to my ear didn't really gel with the whole thing. So I threw Soothe on the bass for the lead vocals, not for the background vocals. Could have done that, didn't do that, because they are singing much less prominently. These guys, the lead vocals are really in your face. So I soothed them, and I'll let you hear that with in solo, without first. And then I'll turn it on.
These are the moments when I tell you to be calm. You'll find solutions around the next corner. Feeling like this, yeah.
Just takes that edge off just a tiny smudge. Clean up vocals, little harshness. So there we go. And then we have this compression suite, which there's no reverb, no echo through this. It just de-esses and then has 3 types of compression, which I use on the vocal chain a lot. And I'll play you without and with.
These are the moments when I tell you to be calm. You'll find solutions.
And for this one, it doesn't just make it more prominent, but I mean, you see the dynamics are all over the place. So these 3 compressors, they're really kind of make sure that the vocal can be heard throughout the entire track, throughout all the sections, and that did the trick for me. I spent a lot of time trying to kind of gain stage them, chopping them up, lowering and increasing the gain on certain sections, but that was just too big of a puzzle, especially with all of these. So I'm really happy that this worked, because otherwise I should have probably done like riding the vocal volume with a fader in automation or something else to really fix this dynamics, because sometimes it just gets super loud and then really quiet. But this solved it for me. So I was very lucky with that. It just took me an hour to find out. And then this, what does it do? It is a little bit of, on the outro, I just wanted to change the leading part of the lead vocal here a little bit, just to give it a bit of a different sound, because it was getting really boring.
These are the moments.
So let me solo that one.
These are the.
Oh, there we go.
These are the moments.
So you can hear it's like an old radio type of thing, or a bad speaker without.
These are the moments when I tell you to be calm.
I like that because it makes you feel like he's just grabbing the mic and kind of, singing into it, and that makes it a bit more, it just makes it different. It's I like it for the outro here. That were the vocals, and then the background vocals. Mixer. So the background vocals start here. This is the group. I just auto-tuned those. Didn't do much. I mean, I lowered their volume a lot and didn't treat them any further. The vocal effects, which is, I'll show you.
I'm laying in my bed at 2 a.m. every night.
This kind of comes with the broken glass. It starts that section of the song.
And now I'm laying in my bed at 2 a.m. every night.
Which I really like. I like these things. They build the dynamics and they help introduce the new section to the listener. Like, okay, something is changing here, guys. Listen up. And here is. Just a really weird riser, but they have all these different types of risers, and I like that. Did I treat those? No, I did not. So I didn't do anything to them. Just, of course, sent them to some reverb, but I'll show you those at the end. Then we have this guy. So these are all the effects, all the little things that makes the song really intriguing, I think. Okay, that doesn't do anything anymore. Probably I've just destroyed that. Okay, so there was a bass riser. I just lowered it a lot because it was really interfering with a lot, but I apparently lowered it a little bit too much. What did I do? So really fighting the lows here. Let me turn this off. What else did I do? Nothing. I didn't automate. I just automated these even more, just to emphasize the change in dynamics. So the bass riser, apparently I could have just taken this out. There's something going on, like a little bit of a punch, but it doesn't really register. Let's see.
It comes 1, 3, 5.
Okay, so there's that. Take away the automation. And the other thing that I treated was this, the click. I put a gate on that, which is not necessary anymore because I actually there was a bunch of stuff going on here and here, and I wanted to gate that. I just cut it out. I forgot to remove the gate, so I can turn that off. Because the gate wasn't really working, and cutting makes it much more clear what's really going on in the track. So those are all the tracks. Before I go into the sense, let's see if there is any automation that I still want to mention. So we automated the snare. I think it's maybe cool to listen to this. We automated the reverb on the snare, right? So listen to the difference. I think this suits the section a lot more. You go back to the dry get the dynamics out that you introduced. Here for the tom, what did we automate? We bypassed this is let's see, tom 2, that's this track. We bypassed the CSR plate for just a little bit, but an important bit. No, actually we bypass it all the time, and then here it's open. So I just add the plate for these sections, just to, because this is where the drum kit is introduced, and I wanted it to just hit hard.
I'm a fraud that's just giving advice I can take. Come here.
I did the same here, but you don't see that because I selected a different automation. So that's what's happening here. Let me find out if there's more automation going on. Yeah, so the synths, how much reverb is being sent to the reverb, clearly that's happening here. And let me play this section.
And now I'm laying.
Okay, so here's a verse, and then we're building up to a pre-chorus. So I really just wanted to take out the any effects and anything I could, just to lower everything. So it really brings out this section that I'm gonna play now.
To do to escape. Come here.
So very slow, you kind of get used to, you don't even notice, but you're like, okay, dynamics have changed, and then it comes back in during this section, which it just creates, an eye-opener, I think. We have the lead vocal, which again, I did the same. So on the whole group, actually.
Just giving advice.
I just sent it here on the chorus, really, mostly, and then even during the chorus I'm lowering the reverb. So outside of the chorus, we don't have a lot of reverb on this entire group. And here I'm lowering the volume because
Telling others what they need to do to escape. Come here.
again there was way too much of a difference in gain, where this just felt like, okay, we're starting something here, but it's really a doozy, it's super boring. So I lowered this a lot, like 8 dB over the course of the last part, so it doesn't become way too punchy there. And so yeah, just really automating to try and emphasize these. Same here, this I wanted this to end before this did, so I automated that, and then I wanted this to rise much more instead of what it was doing. Could have just placed this there, that's much nicer. That's all the automation, just to try and emphasize the different sections of the track for the listener, not make it boring. And then on the synth, we have the bass synth, which is a Valhalla. I can solo these, but we need a section with some bass, so bass, there we go. Just a little bit, so the bass, I'm sending that there, -14-ish. Well, actually quite a lot of reverb for a bass in my experience. But it's a real pop rocky song, so I think reverb, just washing a lot of stuff in reverb is really cool here. Let me solo this drum synth, which is again the Farm Stone Room. I like it, it's set to Stone Hall. Just to make it glue into the song a bit better. Synths, what's going on? We have a plate, a Valhalla, and a Pro Q. So the plate is a vintage plate. Then a Valhalla is set to concert hall, so very wide. And then this just bands. I just needed this band. I didn't need all of this because the reverb was filling up so much of the frequency plate, and I just, if you hear this band, you still hear the reverb, and you don't need all that other information. So let me turn these off. Let me solo this. Yeah. Let me find a proper section of synths. That's good. I'll turn all these on. There you go. You don't need a lot to do. You just need a little to do a lot. That's what I was going for. The vocal send is different from the vocal send 2, which is, this comes from the background vocals. Let me solo this. It is a Valhalla again. Smooth room, but a lot of it. And again, I automated this, right, to really be there during the chorus and not during the verses too much. And then here's the background vocals, another Valhalla, but an ambient setting. And let me just show you that. Okay, so just warming those up. Nothing on the FX send. There is something on the piano send, which is a CSR Hall piano. So that's really a very nice one, I think. And then what I did again was the band here. Let me show you. I can turn this off and on. So there's so much going on in the low and the mid lows, low mids, which I really didn't need. It's just filling up space. And just to accentuate this piano, I just needed this. That's it. That's all the synths I've used. So every group has their own synth, so I can kind of play with them, individually. And then we have the mix bus, which is I was very lazy. Normally this virtual console, you'll see it on all my tracks, but I thought of it too late. I didn't have a template because it's my first time working in Logic. So I just put it on the mix bus. Still like what it's doing. And I'll turn all these off. I'll walk you through them and then I'll turn them all on again. This just to add a little bit of a high shelf. It used to be much more in mix number 3, but in mix number 7 I took it out again. Just for sleeping on it the next day I thought, wow, this is way too bright. It's a tape machine to add a bit of warmth. The one, I really love this, and I was really struggling to get this mix to work until I found this preset, which basically just pumps everything up a lot. It is a game changer for this track, for me. And maybe I could have done a lot of more work on all these tracks, but luckily this saved my ass. The imager, just to add a little bit of width, because it's a cool, it's a cool track to be very wide. A limiter, very hard limiter, and then of course the loves meter. So I'll turn these on one by one. Actually, the tape machine adds more presence. It doesn't add more body or warmth. Just a little bit of presence. So I should have really gain staged this, because now it's hard to hear what is the volume that's being added here, because volume always does a trick, and what are all the things. But I think from the back and forth you can kind of hear the difference.
Don't meet my gaze. Come echo a different name.
So thanks to the gain coming out of that one, I'm sending quite something into the limiter, which, you know, could be balanced maybe a bit more, but I'm happy with the result.
Don't meet my gaze.
And that is my mix for this week. So thank you guys. Share your thoughts. I'm very happy to hear where you come from, you know, what brought you to this video. And if there's anything else I can add to these videos.